There are a lot of things that the Chiefs have to get done this offseason, and it's not all about the offense. I know that's what we've been focused on lately, but there is a lot of work to do, and it starts and ends with that pass rush. There are some prospects in this draft. There are some people that will be in free agency, and there's a lot going on with the Chiefs on the defensive side. We're going to get into that tonight, as well as your Q&A here on RGR Football. Welcome back, everybody. It's Monday night. We're going to do the Q&A thing just like we always do. I hope that you're doing well. We have a lot to get into. I know there's been news, actually, since we recorded the podcast a couple hours ago. The Dak news hit and all those revelations have come through. We can get into that in terms of what it means for the Chiefs or if you just have questions about it. But just know, if you're listening to Locked On Chiefs, that we actually finished up just before that was announced. So hey, it's not going to be in there tonight. I'm sure we'll cover it tomorrow. But welcome back. This is Q&A. I want to focus on the defense, at least the first couple of minutes, because for me, that's like the next big fish to fry, especially when you hear confirmations of what I told you a couple weeks ago, that Mike Dan is going to be, right now, the guy that's on the roster, that Alex Okafor is not going to be asked back. Tano Passrush is not going to be asked back. That was confirmed by Nate Taylor of The Athletic. So like what we talked about a couple weeks ago when I first said, hey, those guys just aren't destined to return, that's come to fruition, and we're on track with where we were talking a couple weeks ago. But it does make that position that much more important to try and bring some balance and keep the defense from getting just lagged down and on the field so much. That's going to be important going forward. We're going to talk about that, as well as the positions that, things that can replace and make up for some of that, as well as all the rest of your questions tonight. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you click the like and the sub and the bell notification so you know what's coming next. I've got some short vids that are going to go up this week. You might have seen the Alex Smith one this morning. I'll have another one for you midweek. It's going to be quiet from Dan this week. He's getting ready to move. He's got some stuff going on, so you'll see a mock, and we have some stuff coming up for you next week that I think is going to be very interesting for you guys. I think you'll get into that. I have a couple of super chats that I want to go over that were either from the videos during the week or one actually that Dayu had, like, just as we logged off last time, and I didn't get to it. That was the mock draft live. So I want to start there if you guys are good with that. I see that Stevie and looks like Aaron's here. Curtis is in. Everybody seems to be joining in, and that's great. Welcome to all of you. Give a hand to Aaron Morrow. Armad, it looks like he had a little bit of trouble, but he's going to be in here. Hog Farmer, welcome back. Daryl, welcome back. Jake, a bunch of the members are in here as well. We're going to get to you guys as shortly as possible. And I saw that Isaac had something too, another member that left a super chat. We'll get to that in a second. I just want to quickly go through the ones that we missed on Thursday and then this week. So I asked real quickly from Dayo, if Chuba falls, would you take him? I like his game. I feel bad for him that he was hurt by going back to school this year, not your normal thing. I would be interested in him. I like his style. I'm not sure what happened that last season. Like, he wasn't near as productive. I don't know if it was a physical thing, if it was a fit thing. We can definitely get into it. But yeah, as a late day 3 guy, I'm more than happy to have him. I like his style, but certainly after Clyde's selection last year, RB is not anything that you can put any investment into. There are a lot of things that need to get done. An additional young running back is a luxury. It is not a need. So I think that's what's going on. Brother Rick, thank you for your message this week. Another super chat that I didn't get a chance to answer. I answered a couple when I saw them, but I missed this. Or I did respond to you, but not enough. Now that Sherman's retired, does it open the door to keep both Damian and Darrell? That was going to happen anyway. Clyde, Damian, Darrell were all going to be on the roster. It wasn't dependent on Sherm. The question is, and partly what we'll talk about tonight and what I have for you here later in the week is, well, what does Sherm's departure mean? What does Andy decide to do in the wake of that? I don't know if this was something that Anthony decided to retire on his own. He had just, been worn down enough, or he just thought it was time, or if this was, hey, Anthony, we can't really afford to bring you back. because we're not using you enough. And then that news may have implemented that, hey, maybe I should just retire. I don't know. I could see it happening either way. So either way, Damian and Daryl were going to be there. And that is if Damian's healthy and he doesn't opt out again, if his mother's better, and all the concerns about the COVID virus and the opt out in the first place have been, taken care of. So we'll have to see how that comes down. But I wanted to get you that, Rick. Let's see. Thomas Roebuck, thank you for the super chat. I missed that before I got in here. Isaac Vega, thank you for the super chat. And I know you were asking for some information or some help writing, and it looks like you said that's not what you're looking for. It's not as much help writing as it is the Chiefs Encyclopedia that you're working on. I was trying to say that if anybody had any ideas or information. So if you guys have ideas about what should be in that encyclopedia, how to approach something of it, Isaac's working on this project, and it's going to be cool. I'm a terrible, terrible writer. So like I can certainly give some X's and O's ideas, but I'm not a historian. Like I don't know the Chiefs history as well as most of you even. Certainly not like Danilo does, or a lot of fans like Chris on Locked On Chiefs. He knows players all the way back. Like I know the game more than I know the people. You know what I mean? So if any of you guys have any input or know any of the ex-players or whatever that maybe you could hook him up with, that'd be great. I'm sure it's going to be a cool project. So thanks, Isaac, and we'll keep the ideas coming. And then let's see. Looks like we just got one. I want to hit Doug's question because he was in here early. I want to make sure we got it. I kind of changed the way that it looks on here tonight, you guys, so it might look a little bit different. But Veach was hinting that they are looking at a possible number 2 tight end. Do you think possibly 3rd round? Maybe, but I don't think so. They might have somebody that hits on their board that high, possibly. But my guess is there's going to be volume there that's going to grade higher when it comes to their pick. You're talking about picking at the back of round 3. And I do think that there's going to be more, maybe even equal grades, but I think there's going to be more volume at other positions that Phil needs as well. So I could see it if they get some things done in free agency. And clearly they're going to continue to do what they do. And what they've always done is if they can accomplish something in free agency that allows them more room to breathe in the draft and ability to go more multi-positional, they will do that. And I do have faith that that is exactly what Brett Veach will continue to do. But we all know that he does find some aspects that he falls for, and that will be, guys higher on their board for fit, for want. And so we could see some of that as well. Let's see. Where are we? Thank you, Mez, for reminding us all. I appreciate that. We're climbing up there. Don't worry about it starting slow tonight. I actually don't even need the headphones now that I remember it, because Dan's not going to make it tonight. Between the baby and the move and all the stuff that's going on, he is busy. Let's see. Who else do we have here? I'm glad you made it, Dominic. Welcome. Mez, why haven't the Chiefs started restructuring contracts? I'm sick of hearing they're 20 over the cap. Yeah, I'm expecting it this week. Like, I'm sure there's been a lot of negotiation, and they've been trying to figure out exactly how they're going to go about it. But I do expect to start hearing it pretty quickly. I don't think they want to run it all the way up to the free agency period, although I do agree. I don't think they're going to be super active in the free agency period. So that is something to consider. Now, let's see. Doug, would you be happy with Jamin Davis, Tyson Campbell, and Jabril Cox all day long? Do you think that we can get one of them at 60 through 80? Yes. With the Chiefs' 3rd pick, they should be able to get one of the linebackers. I think Campbell's probably going to be gone. I think Campbell's going to grade out for me probably in the upper 40s or lower 50s, and I think there will be some teams that grade him higher than I do. So I do expect that's going to be tough. But that said, if they trade back from 31 into the upper 30s or the lower 40s, I think he would be a guy that would fit and probably have a grade that matches what they want to do. Aaron, Dak news. Yeah, he signed. He's now just behind Patrick in overall earnings. He's going to make just under 40 a year, I guess. He got more guaranteed, though, more guaranteed than Russ did. So, yeah, that is the news of the night, and it just happened an hour and a half ago or something like that. So, Canadian Chief, how are you? I heard that next year's draft is not as good as this year's. Do you put next year's numbers up to move up in the trade, move up or trade? What's your thoughts? I don't necessarily buy into that. It'll be weaker at some positions. Like it's going to be very hard for the wide receiver group next year to be anywhere near as good as the last two classes, but that doesn't mean that the defense isn't going to be better. So you always find value in every class, and that's what the Chiefs do well. They evaluate all the players, and they'll be fine. And I think that will come down to, they'll make selections based on what the class is. And that's perfectly good. Quite frankly, the strengths of this class, I think the depth of the O-line helps them this year. And the depth of the wide receiver helps them this year, and they'll take care of that, and then they'll be okay moving to other positions that have the strength. So, Jake, thank you for your super chat as always. And folks, if you want to support the channel, feel free to throw a super chat at us. Whatever you decide, make sure you ask a question so I can get you something for it. That's what this is. I'm here tonight to answer your questions. Thursday night when we do the mock draft, and we'll do the mock draft live again, we'll go through and I'll take your input, but I'm going to guide that, like what my decision making is, and kind of lend my eye to it. It'll be my mock draft that you guys love input, but tonight it's about you. So you asked, honestly, just a shout out for the newly retired sausage. If you're drinking, down one for sure. Salute. I'm not going to pound this. A friend of mine made a nice Irish red for this week. So salute. And let's see who is next. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate the support. Michael, would it be in our best interest to go after a legit veteran left tackle free agent or trade prospect with a high draft ceiling developmental left tackle along with an interior guy? The draft, yes. I don't think they can afford to spend on a legit veteran left tackle that you think is a starter grade. I mean, like, you're not going to find, I don't think in free agency, I don't think you can afford to spend the money that it would take to get a guy that can replace Fisher Schwartz. And it also plays into like how they evaluate what they have in Durant and Rankin and Niang in particular, but they haven't seen Niang. So that's a tough one. But yes, I think they're going to add multiple linemen in free agency. I think they're going to add multiple linemen in the draft, and they're just going to have what they can do. I don't think it's going to be the super high dollars. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Brown's going to get traded here. I think the trades are going to be interesting in general. I'm going to record tomorrow's video later tonight, and I'll probably do something on a trade thing that everybody wants to see happen that I just don't think is going to happen. But hey, it's me. Right now is not a time when the Chiefs should be giving up assets, is my thought. So, Stevie, I am totally with you. In fact, my thought on Sherman will come out on Wednesday, and I'm still kind of like, I didn't even really want to make the video about it. So it is what it is. Trade up for Collins. No trade ups. There's plenty of quality players in this draft. Trade down, and then maybe you're like ahead in the rounds, like kind of like what I showed last week with the mock. That would be a great goal, and I think that would accomplish a lot for them. What's up, Spicy? Doug, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you guys enjoy those. I'm actually really, really happy that we found that. Like, I had always recorded my mock drafts ahead of time so that you guys just watch them as I kind of walk through my thought process, but the interactive part is cool. So I hope I'm not getting too long-winded with them. So let me know in the comments if I need to speed it up those. Like, I think doing 2 a night is actually working, but I could be wrong. You never know. But thanks, Doug. Let's see. Kyle, Anthony Schwartz versus Josh, the guy that I can't pronounce his name, in the 5th. I haven't watched Josh's tape. I haven't done the wide receivers tape at all. I am working on defense. Dan is working on offense, and then we're going to cross-check and go back and forth. We don't have a full staff like Draft Network or anything like that, so it's just the two of us right now. Danilo's doing his crushes, but he's not breaking down film like by the numbers and that kind of thing. So right now, I've seen more of Anthony Schwartz, so I'm comfortable with what he is. And certainly in the 5th, I'm happy with that. I think that's a guy that could develop. And I know that there's still, like, my UDFA crush last year was Kalijah Lipscomb, and he ended up in Kansas City, but he didn't make the roster. There's guys that are on the practice squad right now that people want to see on the roster. I just don't think they'd be there if they were going to be there. So I think there is room, and I think they do pick up at least one wide receiver weapon in this draft, maybe more. My social media editor, Thank you. Thank you. Do you think Richie Grant out of UCF is on the Chiefs' radar? I don't. I was really unimpressed with him at the Senior Bowl. I didn't think that he showed well against the bigger competition. Now, Aaron Robinson, clearly a better player, but I'm not super high on him either. And I think both of them end up being guys that the Chiefs probably would take day 3, but I don't think they're going to be high on them. We are UFC season ticket holders here in Florida. Good for you. I love that. I'm a former UCF letterman of the D-line. Very cool. Grant is the real deal. Okay. His hand usage at the Senior Bowl was all right, bordering on a little aggressive, which I generally like, but I didn't feel like he mirrored well. And I think at the next level, he's going to have trouble there. I could see him move to safety, honestly, and see what he can do there. But that's kind of a cop out. Everybody says, hey, if you're a corner that can't mirror, go play safety and play in zone. That doesn't necessarily always work out. So I'm not trying to over gloss it, but yeah, I would definitely say Robinson is probably more on their radar than Grant is. Let's see, Jake. Thank you. Another member question: should Sherm's departure mean that they're aiming for a blocking tight end to line up with Kelsey in the event that they aren't confident in the offensive line? It's interesting that you say that, and we're talking about the tight end on today's Locked On Chiefs. I think it's today's, yeah. And it's really about what do you do? And I don't think it means another blocking tight end. I think they need one of those in general. And you guys know how I feel about the Ohio State tight end that I think is going to be like either a round 7 guy or a UDFA guy. I like his game. So that you can get that done. But I will say this, somebody that is more of a weapon still, not just an inline blocker, but somebody that if you had to have him in the backfield, like when you want Travis to take the Wildcat or when you want to do those underhands, like somebody that can line up, not necessarily at fullback, but they could if they had to, but specifically somebody that lines up off the line of scrimmage as an H. I think that's what they need. And I think that's the next evolution to help them have like a bigger guy that can help Travis, stand in for Travis if they really needed him, if Travis had to miss a game or two, and move that around. And Tremble's one of those guys. I haven't done specific film, but I've been watching other defenses play Notre Dame, and he's stood out multiple times, not just for what he does with the ball in his hand, but the fact that he lines up at the H and in line and split out. That's the kind of skill set that I think this offense is going to drift towards as they try to get back to using more 2 and 3 tight end sets. It's been a while. It's been decreasing over the last few years, and I do think that they have to get back to that. That said, he blocks pretty well, and most of the time that he stood out to me in the last week on film is when he is blocking, like knocking down dudes to the ground, and I love that. So, yeah, I think Sherm, they may not replace Sherm. They may be without a fullback from now, and as sad as it makes me to see the fullback lose another roster spot in the league, it is the way that Andy goes. So I do feel like the running game and running power with the fullback is kind of going to come swinging back. I feel like it's starting to a little bit. But I think Andy is probably past that. So it's not going to be in Kansas City, unfortunately. Have you seen Paris Ford yet? Little bit. Day 2, I hadn't seen day 2 on him, but hey, you never know. Definitely on the list as we work through all of our film. And this year's a little bit tough, you guys. Finding the all-22 for a lot of these teams has been difficult. So that does make it harder to just kind of look at broadcast and get an idea. It's not near as good as watching all-22. So Colin Saunders moves to fullback to replace Sherman Air. Only Knives, I like that concept. You remember him from college and that he did catch passes out of the backfield and he could line up in the fullback. And I'm totally with you. I'd definitely give it a shot, especially if he can't get on the field on defense. I'm really disappointed with the way his season went. And I don't know if it was the injury or if it was playing himself out of his or allowing himself to get out of shape, not good enough to play. I don't know what happens with him. I hope that he bucks up and he's back in there and he's doing what I think he's capable of, and that is shooting gaps and disrupting plays. But if not, a flip to the other side, I could definitely handle. You guys saw him play linebacker last year. He definitely has the feet for it. I think he's a very good athlete. And it's funny because if you guys listen to all the pre-draft podcasts and that kind of thing, Dylan Radins, the tackle out of North Dakota State, when asked about, hey, who are some of the pass rushers that you faced at your level, knowing that he's not a D1 guy, Colin Saunders was right at the top of his list. So it's definitely there. I want to see Colin get back on track. Let's see. Questions. Sorry. Folks, if you're new, click the like and the sub and the bell notification so you're in sync with us. But also, if you'd like to know something, put your question marks at the beginning of your sentence. It'll help me find them. How concerned are you with the tackle situation? Muhammad, that's a great question, and I am still concerned. It's not like DEFCON 4 or nothing, or 1, I guess is I don't know if it goes up or down. I can't remember. It's not full out panic, but I'm not comfortable that both those tackles are going to be available on week 1. I'm not comfortable that both those tackles are going to play 10 games next season. So it is a problem. And part of my trepidation is that I haven't seen Yang outside of a couple of training videos, which quite frankly didn't really reflect. If you guys watch that PFN stuff with him and his trainer, is working on a couple of things that weren't quite matches for what the Chiefs are going to want him to do. Chiefs don't do terribly vertical sets all the time. I mean, sometimes every now and then, if you have a real speed guy, but they like to do 45s. They don't really do the vertical sets. And that seems to be what he's been working on. And I'm worried that that's a bit of a mismatch. So we'll have to see. Beyond that, I thought Durant played some decent snaps, but I don't think you can count on him to be a starter for half a season. So yeah, they need, I think, a veteran, a lower end veteran, and they definitely need to invest in a draft pick in the top 100 at that position, in my opinion. Would you or Dan ever do a first round mock draft all the teams? It's really interesting that you bring that up, Spencer. We've been toying with that, and Danilo will help us out too. We might each take, a third of the teams and kind of go through it. We'll do a consensus on the Chiefs pick, and that way we'll all have 11 or something like that. I don't know what we'll do, but yeah, we have considered that because, part of this channel needs to grow outward in terms of the whole league for the draft. Because for those of you who don't know, I do run an analytics company that is based on draft data. And so we need to expand a little bit. So bear with me if you see some videos that aren't necessarily pinged at all Chiefs all the time, because some of that is going to be draft classes and who the athletes are across the board. But we'll always bring it back home to KC. It's pretty normal. KC to JC Horn to KC. Is it too unrealistic? It's pretty unrealistic, but I will say this. I think there are those that are going to have him in that range. The problem is it just takes one to take him in the 20s, which is where I think he's going to go. So I think it's a long shot. I won't say it's unrealistic. I'll say it's a long shot, Spicy. Your surprise free agent signing to the Chiefs this year? That's a really good question, Oregon. Off the top of my head, Jayon Brown, maybe. Coverage linebacker. Kind of caught my eye when I saw that he was released or going to be released. I'm not sure which of that is. That was just in passing that I saw that yesterday or the day before. So maybe. I don't know. Great question. Cujo, what late round edges might there be to steal the draft? I'll tell you the guy that has stood out to me a couple of times, and I haven't gone to actually breaking down the edge rushers. I am done with the linebackers. I'm nearly done with I have maybe 2 prospects I'm going to add to the corner list because I thought I was done with them yesterday, but I'm like, I'm going to add a couple. Dan and I are both going to do the safeties because that's going to be an important group. And then I'm going to edge. So I will get that. But I'll tell you this, Shaka Toney right now is a guy that I find really intriguing because I think he's going to be a late round pick, like Mike Dana late, that maybe you can get some performance out of. And we should not forget about Mike Dana. He played a ton of snaps as a rookie and held up for a guy that nobody knew. I didn't even know him. I didn't even know to scout him before he was drafted. So there are going to be some of those guys. Tony's just the guy that leaps off my head right now, but I'm sure I'll have more for you. Let's see who's got questions. There's Ben. Does Sausage retiring open the door for Saunders down the seam? I would love it. I think that's a great way to use him. And you know what? At least play with it in the preseason. Give us a little bit of a joy. You know what I mean? All right, I'm falling behind on the questions, you guys. I'm going to get cutting here. Ian Roberts, thank you very much. Member and super chat, always appreciated, bud. I know it's dependent on the play call, but the offense, but Spag's scheme, do you think we'll draft a consistent pass rushing linebacker like DJ was? I would like to. Quite frankly, I think the best overall linebackers in this class are downhill guys. They're not coverage guys. I think Zaven Collins is super interesting because I think he can do both nearly equally well. For my money, he's the best all-around guy. The question comes into, does Spags want to adjust his system and start sending the linebackers all the time? Because that's what they do, like on Micah Parsons, who is nearly an edge rusher. I mean, honestly, some things Zaven could play edge as well. But Micah Parsons is a downhill guy. I know a bunch of you Missouri guys want Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton plays downhill. I don't like him in coverage at all. If they change their philosophy, then you can get Nick Bolton and think that he can actually produce. I think his size is still a problem. I still don't think he's a first rounder, but it definitely opens things up. I wouldn't mind it because I would rather send a linebacker and fill in with safeties at the second level than send safeties and have a linebacker get outmatched in coverage anyway. So that's kind of my thought. Great question, Ian, and thank you as always. Canadian Chief heard the next year's draft is going to be as good as not as okay. I think I answered this already. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just behind you guys. Be a little patient with me. I'll get there. As long as there's question marks, I'll find it. How deep is the CB class, and can they snatch a quality guy on day 3? Day 3 is going to be tough. All the day 3 guys that I have right now, let me see if anybody stands out. And you guys, we're going to do the top 10s. And that's kind of the video that I was talking about before. We're going to do our top 10s at positionals. That's not necessarily the best fits for the Chiefs. It's the top 10 players that we have at a position. And that is expanding again, so that part of this channel is to cover the NFL at large. But when I take a look at my notes and my grades on the corners, there are some guys that are going to be day 3 guys. A couple of them that have some great length. You guys are going to be disappointed to hear that Trill Williams is one of them for me. I don't think he's a superior athlete. I don't like the way that they used him in 2020, but he's somebody there. Everyone's giving Kelvin Joseph a lot of like first day buzz, and I just don't see that at all. I think he's going to be somewhere between the 3rd and 5th rounds. Who else? I mean, there's a number of guys. It's about production for me, and I'm just about to start stacking them up, and I'll have a better idea for you then, Mohammed. Brandon, surely the Chiefs could have gotten Isaiah Williams on the cheap with how cheap the Dolphins paid. Possibly, but that's only if they wanted him. If they didn't have a good grade on him to begin with, why would you? Jamie, can Darryl play fullback? He probably can. It's not really his forte, but they don't use a fullback as a blocking back anyway. So, I wouldn't mind it just to see if they can punch some things through. I think you're going to see some change on the O-line this year, though. So it's difficult. Spencer, do you think that the Chiefs should be considered the favorites to win the Super Bowl this year? No. In my book, no matter who it is, what year, whoever won the Super Bowl last year is the favorite until it's proven to be wrong. No way around that for me. Delmont, thank you very much. Appreciate the super chat. Will the cap ceiling be announced? When will the cap ceiling be announced? They keep saying a couple of days. No one really knows. There's no deadline. I think they're waiting on some of these TV deals, especially the streaming deals, to see what they can squeeze out and hope that it doesn't crush the salary cap as much. So I think they'll string it along until they really feel like, hey, well, there's no more news coming. So just hold tight. They'll get here. Patrick, is there any realistic free agent defensive pass rush that the Chiefs can afford to help boost our D-line? The pass rusher group is not something that I think they can make an investment in. Von Miller isn't going to face charges for his domestic thing, so I do think he ends up back in Denver. Who is it? Jenkins from the Jets, who was at Georgia. I think he's going to go back there. I think he'd probably get overpaid anyway because I just don't know that there's going to be much. Pass rusher is not a place that I'm looking for in free agency unless it's like somebody who really wants to come play on this team. Matt Judon is the one exception to that because I know he and Tyron are tight. conversations about that before. So Matt Judon's one guy that I would look at, but he'd have to take a huge pay cut, or they'd have to clear enough room by either restructuring Frank or Chris and Tyron extension, like all kinds of things, or he'd have to just take a sweetheart deal, and I just don't see that happening. Muhammad, realistically, what are the chances of taking an interior offensive lineman in the first 2 picks? I think there is a realistic chance, but not until the second round. You're right. They're going to use that top pick on somebody that they think can be a game changer, whether it's a defensive back or a weapon. I think that's probably where they're leaning. I will say this, the more that I look at this class, the more I do feel like edge rusher has to go up there in terms of being something that they add high, maybe with the first pick. Should we get a big wide receiver and convert him to tight end? Would that be an option? Not really, Jim. That's what they tried to do with Ricky Seals-Jones. That's what they're still trying to do with Jody Fortson. It just isn't working. You need a tight end. I mean, there are some guys that can make that transition, and then this gluttony of the last few years of trying to take basketball players and make them tight ends, it just doesn't work half the time. You have to be a pretty special athlete to make that transition. I think you're better off just right now going to get a tight end that you can be functional and doesn't have to be a supreme athlete that they're trying to make these wide receivers into tight ends for. So, Patrick, cheap wide receiver depth. What about Tate and John Ross? Just then draft for the future. Golden Tate, I think he would still make way too much money for what they want to spend. John Ross can't stay healthy. I would not do that myself at all. I'd stay away from both of them. Especially with Chiefs bring in a new fullback or add another position. I think we may have seen the last fullback for a while. I'd love it if they do. There's a couple of guys that I actually like that I'd like to see, but I just don't think they will. I think they have more fish to fry. I think they'd rather use that roster spot for a tight end or a 6th receiver or maybe even another back. Certainly they need depth on the O-line. So I think that's what they're seeing coming down the pike. Wyatt Davis. Let's see. Wyatt Davis is a power dude. The zone thing is not really what I'm thinking is his deal. He's not Deontay Brown, don't get me wrong. He can move better than that, but he's pretty athletic, but I don't know that he's a zone guy. I will get into the guards here coming up after I finish the defense as well, because I want to let that go to the end, because I think those are going to be the guys that are going to be really specific to fitting here. I think center's more likely than guard right now. We're going to have to see what happens, though. The Chiefs are going to make some moves here in the next couple of weeks, and I think that'll give us a lot more insight as well, you guys. Jacob, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. I wish Chris Olave out of the Ohio State would have declared for the draft. It would have been a great pickup for the Chiefs at 31. I don't know if he had declared, he might not have lasted that long, man. I'll tell you that. I mean, this is a great class, so maybe, but man, there are so many wide receivers. I'm trying to think. The guy whose name who keeps getting overlooked, Terrence Marshall. I think he could go in the first round still. Bateman could go in the first round. I mean, there are a number of guys here that I think still could, and I think Olave would be up there. I know his build's a little slight, but I think it could have happened. Muhammad, realistically, what are the chances that Veach moves back? It's the smart move. I don't think it's what Brett wants to do. And the hard part, I will say this, he might even be open to it more this year than he has in the past. I don't know if he's going to get a dance partner. That's the hardest thing about moving out of there. That's why the Patriots are so good at it. They got people to do it. I would love to see them move back to the Atlanta pick, the Carolina pick, somebody who wants to go get that last couple of guys in the first round. I hope that they really push for that, because I think that would be a great payoff. Holly, thank you for the super chat very much. I hope that you have a question here waiting for me. If not, I will get your next one. But I appreciate the support and thank you. Brandon, so does Sherman retiring seem weird? Feels like they were going to release him or something, and that he'd rather retire than not play with the Chiefs. They didn't have to release him. His contract was up. I think it might have been, hey, man, we got bigger fish to fry. We can't afford to bring you back. We got to get younger. We got to get whatever. And that was like, okay, I can call it a career then. I don't need to go elsewhere. I do agree with that part, Brandon. But it wasn't going to be like, hey, we don't want you anymore. We're going to cut you. It was just that the contract had come to the end of what it is. So I think it's going to be fine. And I think Anthony's going to be happy. So I'm glad to see that. Let's see. Questions. There's Holly's question. Good. I heard in a recent interview with Alex Smith that he's not sold on becoming a coach if he can't play. It sounded like he wants to travel as much with his family. I had heard the same thing. I also heard another interview with him that said, hey, eventually I would like to coach. And so maybe if he doesn't get a starting gig, and I talked about this in this morning's video, if he doesn't get a starting gig, I'd like to see him come in and be a backup and start that coaching thing. But you're right. I mean, he could also take a couple of years off and then come back and get into coaching. I think that would be perfectly fine too. And maybe emotionally, maybe competitive wise, that makes it easier for you to not be the starter, not be the guy, to have that time off. So good point, Holly. Thank you for that. Looking for questions here, you guys. Derek, how are you? It's been a while. Welcome back, and thanks for the super chat. What are your thoughts on Les Miles and KU's future? I'm pretty disheartened by this. Yeah, you guys know I'm a KU grad, and I was in that program. I did my graduate assistantship coaching at KU football. So yeah, I'm really disheartened to see what has happened. Again, from what I understand, nothing that's gone on in Lawrence. It was all before that, but he's clearly the best coach name that they've gotten since Charlie, and Charlie obviously didn't work out. So now it's about building on that. You got somebody with a huge name you need to go get somebody else. I don't want to see these candidates from Toledo and that kind of stuff. Like, you got to go get somebody's staff in D1 that's big. That's my thought. I think that they can build on this momentum and improve the program myself. Thanks for bringing it up, Derek. Maz, at this moment, your realistic number one pick that you'd be ecstatic for the Chiefs to get. Last week you saw Elijah Vera Tucker keep falling to me in the mocks. I don't think that's going to happen, but I would be ecstatic about that. I would be ecstatic if Pat Surtain fell, or honestly, if JC Horn fell. I am happy with his game fitting with the Chiefs. And if he does continue to fall, maybe that would be cool. I would hope for that. Who else? I mean, Kyle Pitts is never going to fall, you guys. Jalen Waddle. I prefer Waddle. Waddle's my number 2. He will be my number 2. Dan and I will throw things at each other and argue about that, but that's the way that it's going to be. So that would be cool too. Jacob, nice to see you. What do you think of Zach Wilson? I've spent 0 time studying quarterbacks because I just don't care with Patrick in-house. But I will say this. I think it's very difficult to not project what you've seen from, like, quite frankly, from Lamar turning his career around and looking at Wilson, who's a better passer right now. But I'm not convinced that Wilson's got enough. For me, it comes back to the level of competition that BYU faced, and that's not up there with the other quarterbacks. Trask is the same way. So, I mean, first round, if you're going to get a quarterback, go get him in the first round and get done with it, sure. But top 10, I don't know. They keep saying that. I hear people say all the time there's going to be 4 top 10 quarterbacks. I'm having trouble with that. That's just my thought. But again, that's why I'm not looking at them either. We got things to accomplish around here. Quarterbacks ain't one of them. How about, okay, we answered that one, got that one. All you guys asking about Darryl at fullback, I've answered that. I'm going on. Muhammad, why do they always refuse to invest a top 100 pick in a corner? I don't know. It's not always. What did they take? They took Kavari Russell in the second round. That didn't work out for nothing. Maybe they're bitten by that. I don't know. Or maybe they just feel that it's team defense, that they're going to let guys compete, and if they get beat and they're in trail, they have the safety investment to go over it. That's why I think safety is actually more important than we think it is right now. I think Dan Sorensen might come back on a cheap sweetheart deal, but they still need to draft somebody that can help Juan play the deep so you can move Juan around. And I know that Danilo really likes Cisco. Cisco, I think, could play the free. You can't ask him to drop down and play slots, though. I mean, he can't do that. Juan can. So there is a scenario where you get another free safety type that allows Juan to come down and play a robber too and play more of a coverage base. But then that goes back to having a stronger one linebacker out there too. So that's it, all kind of plays hand in hand. This could be a season where we see by their selections what they're thinking in terms of changing the scheme. So that will reveal itself when they make a pick. Good question. Joe, when we make a free agent signing the first week of free agency, my gut says no. The second wave is where I'm thinking. In your opinion, where should the Chiefs make cut in efforts to get under the cap? My call, Hitchens. The problem is Damien's a free agent. Neiman's a free agent. The only linebackers you have on the roster besides Hitch are Willie, who they clearly did not decide to give any responsibility to, DOD, and Harris. That's it. You can tell me that Cobb's on the roster. Cobb's not ready. They gave Harris the green dot, let him be the mic instead of Willie. That says something about where they think he is. I think they still need a middle linebacker, a guy that can call the defense, that can set the defense, and all of that. I don't think they're set on Willie being that guy yet. So I don't think you can cut Hitchens. I mean, if it came to it, there are a couple of guys that they could cut. The tackles. I don't think they could even get away cutting Frank. I think Frank's ripe for a restructure. I think Tyron's ripe for an extension. I think Tyreek could get an extension. All those things could get you significantly down to where you need to be for the cap. That's my thought. Other than that, I mean, Hitchens isn't performing to his contract. I get that, but you don't save any money. I think you get like $2 million back on the cap if you cut him, and you have nobody to play the middle linebacker. So, I mean, it's all good and well to have a plan to draft somebody, but what if the guy that you think can be your new middle linebacker, call the defense, play the run, play the pass, and blitz? What if that guy's gone 2 picks before you pick? Then you're hosed. So, will any of the free agents get overpaid by another team? Don't think anybody's going to get overpaid very much here. I mean, the elite of the elite that are free agents might. Like, Trent Williams is going to be a free agent, I think. I don't think they're going to be able to trade him. He'll get paid still. You know, Allen Robinson is going to get paid, in my opinion. But if you're not the elite top or top 2 or 3 at your position, you're not going to get paid, I don't think. Let's see. Question marks. Looking for question marks, you guys. Aaron. How are the Athletic Matrix Big Board and Draft Guide coming along? Slow. Thank you very much. I know Jeff's in the chat tonight. Jeff and I still have to sync up about getting some of that. The Pro Days just started. Without the Combine, we haven't done anything yet because we don't have any data. The Matrix will be out. It'll be out as soon as I can possibly get it. I'm going to cut it into 2 pieces. The Matrix will be out by itself and be available as soon as I have data for what is going to be probably a lighter load, probably like the top 10 at each position instead of the top 20 like I usually do. And then we'll get to the draft guide as we get closer, because I think this year the draft guide is going to run up right till the end, just because we don't have everything that we need. So thank you for asking, though, Aaron. And that'll all be available here and at Rogue APC is where you can get all the past draft guides too, you guys. And I have a code set up for you that's RGR something. I'll have to double check that. That gives you a huge discount on all the old ones if you want to go see what it's about. Let's see. Thank you, Aaron. That's a good point too. If you guys could help me out, 5 stars over on iTunes for Locked On Chiefs always helps me. And honestly, it helps people find this show and this channel too. So it is a big deal. Thank you. Preachers. Will Andy get the memo to run? Andy's Andy. I'd love to see him do it, but I don't think so. The only caveat that I hold out hope for is that he continues to get these light boxes after light boxes after light boxes. And then maybe he will finally be like he was against the Bills. Bills was bad weather, light box, and they crammed it down their throats. That's kind of like 2 of the 3 things. If Andy can get more solid feedback right away that he needs to do it more, I think he can. I just don't know if he will. That's my thought. Let's see. Ryan, how much do you buy into the rumors about the possibility of Patrick Peterson to the Chiefs? Very little. You guys know how I feel about rumors. There's a number of channels here. There's a number of blogs out there too that like to make this stuff up just because it could be a fit. Just because somebody's a fit doesn't mean it's going to happen or there's anything to base a rumor on. But no, I haven't heard a thing from anyone that I know either in the agent world or with the Chiefs that says that there's anything going on right now. I think Pat might have a little bit of interest towards like the tail of the first wave of free agency. But if he gets past that and you get into the value section, then something could happen. But right now, I'm not hearing a thing. Good question, Ryan. Do you think the Super Bowl loss has taught Andy a lesson about running the ball? I don't. Andy's Andy. I think that was a unique situation that was really, really impossible for him to overcome mentally. And I think that's what happened. Shoot. I didn't go fast enough, you guys. I missed something. Got the Chris Olave one. Got Holly's. Got Brandon's. Got Derek's. Okay, maybe I didn't miss something. Maybe I have more to go. I'm trying to get caught up here. If he's Fetty, if Josh Gordon isn't banned, would you sign him for cheap? I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. He's had enough strikes, in my opinion. We all know about Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago. Did Sherman retire because he's setting himself up for the Sausage King of KC? I don't know, man. It could be. You never know. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a business like he'd want to get into, food, but maybe. You never know. Michael, strengthen your strengths. We could, but could we strengthen O-line and put the emphasis on making the defense great? Seems like Patrick could make a good offense and a good O-line great, but Spags needs the right fits. That's partially true, but this is an offensive-oriented coach and GM. They will always look to bolster and keep their weapons at the very top at all times first. You know, the tank's 3/4 full, even with losing Sammy and D-Rob. And the offensive line worries, they're going to look to top that up right away, is my thought. Steve, did our defense improve, get worse, or remain status quo with Spags' first year? I think the run overall, defending the run and not letting them gash you, I think got better. I thought the secondary play actually got better. The pass rush went to hell in a handbasket. That was the problem. And I think the linebacker play was iffy. Maybe status quo there. Hitch actually played better. I thought Neiman played worse. I thought Damian played a little bit worse than he did in 19. So, yeah. At what point does an older coach like Reed or Spags go against his instinct and change up the strategies? When he says he has nothing left to lose, I just don't know if he's there yet. Dan Campbell, glad you could join. He's not a sleeper. Tryon Washington's from Washington. Joe's going to go. I think he might slide in the second, but he's not going to be a sleeper at all. He's on everybody's radar. Doug, Willie and Jabril, let me have that all day long. Neither of them are good at stopping the run yet, though. Jabril's still really raw, you guys, and he doesn't take on guards, same as Willie. So I like what I saw from Willie in improving that in his rookie year, but he's by no means a run-stopping linebacker. So that leaves you susceptible yet again, which is fine as long as you have a guy on the roster you can bring in to do that. I say bring Reggie Ragland back. Play him when you need him to stop the run. I'm perfectly happy with that, and I think Reggie would like to have a contract. Ben, going forward, would you retain Noddy, or is it time to start thinking about another run-first nose tackle? I would retain Noddy. He's going to be cheap. I like his game, and it allows you to kind of just scratch it off the list and look to get a pass rusher. I'm not sure Turk Wharton can take over being the guy that stops the run. I think he's more of a 3-tech. Even when they put him inside, I think he's still leaning that way. Terry, I'm not sure. I would probably put my money right now on the Bears, but I really don't know. Mez, thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, if you guys could hit the thumbs up for me, that would really help. It always helps the channel and helps more football fans find us. Damian Wilson is out there. I think he's is he? Or is he restricted? I think he's unrestricted. I don't know. I think Damian Wilson may have run his gamut here. Cheers, Doug. Thank you very much. How do you see Spags evolving the defense in terms of introducing new concepts in year 3? I think he's going to change up. Personally, I think he needs to change up the 3 safety sets. I know he wants to run them, but I think they need to get away from making a safety be a run defender. I think they need a more powerful, bigger linebacker set to put out there and play more complex coverages with guys that can do it. I think that's the way that they're going. Let's see. Do you think LJ Snead is our best cornerback? With Bashad off the board because he is a free agent, yes. LJ is better than Ward is right now. Now, if Ward regains his momentum, he might be able to catch up, but Ward has proven to be exactly what I said he was 2 years ago. He's a solid CB2. That's it. Nice to see you. Thank you very much. Prescott's deal is interesting. I didn't think he was going to get to the 40 number, but it seems that he did. More power to him. Way to stick to his guns. And you can see that argument, battle, whatever you want to call it, with a quarterback and its team, quarterback won that one, in my opinion. I think Deshaun's going to win the same thing, and he's going to be out of Houston. Do you have any sleepers so far? I have a couple. I got to tell you, nobody so far has stood out to me like L'Jarius did last year. So I haven't found this year's LJ yet. I'm working on it, and I will keep digging until I do. But yeah, right now, the depth doesn't look as unique as it did last year. Thanks, though. Roderick, later rounds, your thoughts on snagging an interior defensive line like Bobby Brown III or the Brian Ray? Haven't watched Ray as much. I don't have any problem with Bobby. Like 5th, 6th, I'm okay with that. I think there's a couple other guys that are going to be there too. I think the depth there is interesting. Again, the only problem is it's got to be pass rush first for me for a defensive tackle. I mean, honestly, for a defensive end as well. I think it's got to be pass rush first. The only guy that's really stood out to me that's kind of a sleeper that could be a day 3 guy is Dalen Hayes. And I feel like he's got the tools to be an edge rusher, but right now he's more of just a power pocket crusher. But that fits what Spags wants to do too. We'll see if he can train somebody up too. You might see them go defensive line late on day 3 and see what they can pick up. Burger King thought that a real and did a good job basically for the whole year, except for when he had to guard Mike Evans. Your thoughts? I'm not sure who you're talking about. Is that Bashad? Maybe. I mean, Bashad was Bashad. I thought Ward was, mostly him. I think he didn't play body as well. I mean, we know he doesn't play the ball well, but I thought he took a step back playing body, to tell you the truth. Steven, we ever see a dominant defense like the Ravens again? Probably not. With the way the rules have changed since then, I think the league wants the numbers up in terms of points. Ryan, there's still lots of transactions to be done. But going into next season, who do you see our division closing the gap the most? I mean, Chargers did what I expected them to do, including with the injuries. They get the injury thing sorted out, and they're going to be pressing. I'm going to tell you that. Not sure what the Raiders are doing. I thought they would take a step forward. They didn't utilize their draft picks as well as I think they could have. They should have, made Ruggs the focus of the offense. I thought Carr threw last year as good as he ever has, and they didn't get enough out of it. But that's it. Oh, Don, that's a can of worms, buddy. Cheers to you. I hope that the Lions continue their way up. Dorsey is a solid evaluator. And Mr. Dorsey, I emailed you a couple of weeks ago. If you would like to chat, I would love to do that because I think I can help. I think he has some blind spots. I think he has traits that he likes and maybe that overpowers some of his decision-making. But from what I understand, he's not the sole decision-maker in Detroit, so should have good input and help. But as long as he's not able to make the final call, I think you're in good shape. He's definitely an athleticism guy. That's why I want to talk to him, as well as a number of, he'll take a chance and he'll make it pay off. He had to get talked into Mahomes, but he was here for the Mahomes deal. So let's not forget that too. Veach talked him into it, but it is what it is. But yeah, good luck with that. And I think if Campbell can hold down the fort, I think you can invest in some talent there and be on the way up. Do you see Breeland? Do you think Breeland was their best corner besides the Super Bowl? Yes. Overall, I think in terms of making plays, being sticky, being forceful, you saw LJ got a little overpowered in the Super Bowl, right? Like Gronk dunked him. And he's got to get a little bit more functionally strong. That's where Bashad has the advantage there. They're the two best corners on the roster this year, and LJ is it now. Brett Coleman had a video on underrated talent, and Tyree Gillespie seemed a good Sorensen replacement. What is your thought? I didn't feel like that at all. I watched Gillespie the other day, and I didn't feel like he was that instinctual. I certainly don't like the way that he moves. I mean, I don't like Dan's movement that particularly well either, but I don't know. Maybe Brett saw things that I didn't see, and I respect Brett's opinion. He is not only great at film breakdown, he's a great creator. But no, I'm not a big fan of Gillespie overall. Maybe in a very specified role, but I'm not so into it. Certainly not as a powerful, strong safety type box guy. Thank you though, Brandon. Ian, I'd like to hear your thoughts on versatile O linemen. Is it a bit more detrimental to have one swing OL or five that can play all the positions? Well, that's the question. Jack of all trades, master of none, right? There's part of that. I think honestly, the switch of moving Remmers from right to left was part of that. Yes, he's versatile and he can do a bit of it all, but he was certainly more overpowered at left than he was at right the whole year, right? So would you rather have a guy I'm a right tackle, period? I think especially at the high end for your starters, I think that's definitely true. That's why I don't see Niang playing on the left side. I think he is a right side only guy. So it is what it is. Let's see. Oh, I like that one, Stevie. Let's get Aaron out of jail free. Good one. Okay. Question, any idea when or who might be the next RB coach, or what ideas take so long? That's a really good question, Thomas, and that's one thing that's bothering me right now. Like, I don't understand why they haven't found somebody yet. They've got, I don't know, 1,000 guys they could choose from, a lot with ties to the Chiefs. I am really confused by that. I would think they would have their guy in the house and announced already. I don't know what the holdup is. Same thing with, you need another defensive assistant. It doesn't have to be an outside linebackers coach to replace what you had, but you need another defensive assistant. Quite frankly, I think the staff is too small. This roster is going to get younger and younger as the stars get their pay. You got to get younger and younger with it. You need more staff. Urban Meyer's got like 22 guys on staff, right? Well, I think the Chiefs should expand, and I think they should have done that already, to tell you the truth. Brandon, I still wish they could take Terry McCollin instead of Hardman. Again, it's hard to project who's going to do well in an offense like Reed's. I agree with you. I liked McCollin. I liked Paris Campbell better than both of them, and he hasn't been able to pan out either. That's more about injuries. But I think they're all about the same. They're all underneath guys that are really quick. I think the difference is that Terry's a little bit more short area quickness. He cuts better. McColl is a bit more straight line, in my opinion. At least he certainly was. And he's still learning the position, you guys. We got to remember that as well. Ian, thank you. Everybody, like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you know what comes next. We have all kinds of stuff going on. We're almost to the hour point, and I'm going to try to get through this. I think I have one more. No, Thomas was the last super chat. So I make sure to cover all the super chats. I'm going to try to speed through and just answer a couple of words on all the rest of the questions. Can you do some research on teams that drafted O-linemen early and how their overall drafts fared? It seems that teams do this tend to have good drafts. I can try to look at that, but quite frankly, I am up to my ears in work, and getting there is going to be tough for me, but I'll give it a shot, Steven. Do you know how the practice squad will look this year? No idea. My guess is there'll be some turnover. We'll see what happens. Steve, Neiman and Sorensen are certainly picked off by many defense. Where should the Chiefs invest in that position, in free agent or draft? I think you can get a safety in free agency. I think you need to look at the draft for linebackers. Let's see. When Sammy was healthy, he made our unguardable, but he missed most of the year, and everyone saw strictly it was Kelsey and Hill. Now that Sammy is gone, is it important than ever to get a wide receiver too? Yes, and that's going to be their focus. And that's nothing bad against Pringle. I think the team likes Pringle, but I think they like him as a third or fourth, not as the number two. I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong because I would like to see him get a shot at it. But that said, you have to be able to exploit the defense every down, no matter what. And I think that Pringle does still have a little bit of work to go there. I think he's great after the play breaks down, the initial route. I think he's great as, the ad lib kind of thing, but got to see him destroy guys in the first 5 yards, in my opinion. Let's see who's next. Trev, has anyone checked out Indiana safety Jamar Johnson? He wrecked Fields and OSU. I have not watched any of the safety film yet, but I think he's on my list. If he's not, I will add him, Trev. Jake, if the Chiefs give up a starter to move up, get someone, who do you think they'd actually trade to move up, and who? I don't know. I do not know. They don't have many. They don't have a center at all. I mean, would you trade LDT? No one's going to give anything for him. You might trade Damian. That could be a possibility. That's about it. On the defensive side, you could trade Frank if you're unhappy with him. You could trade Hitchens if you get somebody to do it. It would save you some cap, but I don't think either of those things are going to happen. Let's see who's next. Shizzle, sorry. The cap being lower this year, is it possible that a receiver like Marvin Jones? No. Marvin's still going to get a good, sizable chunk. I don't think free agency is the way that they address much, you guys. It's going to be a long haul. Should we get Marvin Jones? It'd be fun to see him in this uniform, but they can't afford him either. These are all guys that are going to make $7, $8, $10 million a year. The cap being lower, okay, I got that one. Shard Higgins. I think Higgins is really intriguing, but I can't say that he's a game changer. He's not what they're looking for. They want somebody, again, that can win in the first 5 yards and they can stretch the defense as well. Not just speed, because they got to have some size there too, but speed is definitely a component of it. Why not? I don't put any of that into it. These are all so far being run by agencies and training facilities that have a vested interest in showing small times, short, fast times. I'll take the pro day data if I have to, but this year's going to be tough without the combine. Do you think Tyreek needs to use his hand more when catching the ball and not his body? Missed the touchdown. I mean, he does that from time to time, but I don't think it's a terrible habit. I think, honestly, he needs to attack the ball in the air a little bit more. I think towards the end, especially the Super Bowl, but towards the whole playoff run, I think like he didn't actually come back to the ball quite enough because people did figure out how to stay closer to him, and I don't think he was used to that. Would you rather have the first 2 rounds, Zayvon Collins and Creed Humphrey, or Ian Leichenberg and Jabril Cox? Wow, that is a great question, Brian. Figures a member would ask it. I think the better overall is option A. But I think Liam Leichenberg is going to end up being better than Creed Humphrey in the long run. And I think Jabril's more of a risk than Zayvon is. So that's more upside, but I think the better bet is option A. Great question. I'm glad you put those together. Did you hear Miami and Tennessee traded their first round picks and Miami got a player? I did not see that, Daryl. I've been a little bit out of it lately. I'll try to follow up on that and maybe have some comment there on Thursday. Do you really think we need to keep Frank? There's a lot of penalties, if not both financial and like locker room. He's a presence. He's a guy that they look to for their attitude. Do you need more from Frank? Yeah, you do. He needs to not be too worried about the fashion line and the other things. But yeah, I mean, I think you hurt yourself more by trying to move on from him than keeping him and trying to support him so that he can be better. But that's a great question, lady, and I appreciate you asking it. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. That's just a really tough call. Fetty, who is a realistic wide receiver to get in round 1? Terrence Marshall would be one of them, I think. He might be available. He might go, slightly above that as well. Who else am I looking at? I had somebody up here the other day. I think Bateman might be there. I don't have much interest in Elijah Moore. He reminds me a lot of Tyreek. I think that's about it. I mean, Tony could be there, but I'm not sure that Tony can fit either. You need somebody that can beat up in press, and I'm not sure Tony's it. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at. Let's see. Bob, what do you think of Sante Samuel Jr. and Andy liking the draft family? That's a little bit of a concern for me because I don't think Samuel's great. I think he's good. I think he's undersized. And I think in man, it's not the kind of I think he's in man to keep in phase. I don't think he's in man to redirect. I watched 3 games of his, and I didn't feel like he used what I think is actually, I think he's fairly strong for his size. I don't think he used it terribly well from what I saw. So I am concerned about that being just too easy a thing because it's comfortable and familiar. Love the DBA from Washington that can play the slot, and we can have Snead bump out wide. Love the fits. Jake, you're reading my mind. Right now, the closest thing that I have to LJ Snead in this draft is Elijah Molden from Washington. And I'll tell you this, it's not even the nickel. He played safety most of last year. I think you could run double robber with him and Tyron. I think he's a lot more like Tyron than he is like a nickel corner, meaning that he can come in and hit, and he ain't afraid of contact. He'll come in against the run. He can shadow and mirror and nickel when you want. I would love to see those two together with Juan over the top. They could do all kinds of things. And so there, you just got me to reveal one of my sleeper picks. But I do think he's going to be a round 2 guy, so you can't really call him a sleeper. But yeah. Tyler, I have not watched Illinois on defense. I haven't been able to find that tape yet. Ryan, as far as your mock lives, I love doing 2 per episode. Okay, cool. I like that. Are there possible business cards for the channel you have thought about? I think it would be handy to have to pass to people. I have not considered that, but maybe that's a good option, Aaron. I'll have to look at that. Vistaprint and stuff should be pretty simple, right? I don't know. If not, I know some graphic designers. You guys like the logo, right? I know that Dan is busy, but will he have a mock live draft? He will have a mock draft, he said, for Wednesday. I don't think it's going to be live. It'll be his normal recorded because they're getting ready to move and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I think he will have something this week, Dan, at least when I talked to him today. Steve, did you read the article that teams are not valuing the 40-yard dash as much because of the new GPS technology? I did read that, and I could see that. There will be teams that still value the 40 because it's the 40 and because they're just comfortable with that. In the end, it doesn't really matter. A speed metric is a speed metric, and for me, everyone's like, "Oh, well, you're a combine guy." I'm a data guy. My formula can easily adapt to miles per hour versus a 40-yard dash because mathematically you can make those things similar. So yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think the technology certainly is making things a little bit different, but the NFL is notorious for guys who just like it the old way. So I would like to see it go towards the actual data, because I will say this, I think game data of the miles per hour is much more functional, which is what I'm all about, than the 40-yard dash is. So the 40-yard dash has some limitations in not having pass, not having contact, the whole 9 yards. So I really love it. And I'll tell you this, I was ready 3 years ago to go to the GPS miles per hour stuff on the speed. I could switch over to that tomorrow if they would make it available. So NFL, put it together, and I can give you all kinds of profiles and metrics. Pie Dessert, I think Bashad played his way out of KC, so DP is higher on my list than most people. Where does it rank for you? O-line, linebacker, wide receiver, CB. Yeah, I think DE and CB need to be up higher. I think you can get better quality bang for your buck at linebacker and wide receiver in the second and third round. So I'm thinking specifically of a first round. I think CB and DE need to be up there. Will Dirty Dan stay or go? Right now, I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to take a sweetheart deal for you and everyone else in Chiefs Kingdom that loves him. I think he likes being here. I think he loves Andy Reid, and I think he'll take a really low deal to come back. The question is, he's going to be like 32 years old next season. There ain't a whole lot left in the tank, you guys. Let's see. We're going to wrap this up because I'm just about down to the end of the question, so that's perfect. I love the name. Thank you for that. And RGR football fan. They will not re-sign Lev. It was an experiment, and the fact that he was not available down the stretch, I think will not have him back. Danilo says he would rather have A, but B would be cool. So he's with the Zaven and Creed mentality. I'm glad you made it, Danilo. I think that's the first time I'd seen you pipe up. So hopefully I haven't been missing you this whole time. Let's see. Other questions. Do we need an elite wide receiver with elite route running capabilities? Freight. Yeah. I mean, it would help. You certainly have that. Like I said, I want a wide receiver that can win the first yards in the first 5 yards. That means beating press, beating it with your hands, and getting loose. And that does take what most call route running ability. So, yeah, there are needs there. Wilson and Titans 7th rounder for Dolphins 7th rounder. Oh, okay. I hadn't seen that. Danilo, thanks for pointing that out. Fetty, if Joko gets cut, would you go after him? Yes, I definitely would. If he gets cut, I think he would be affordable, is my point. And you guys, I'll include him on what I do for tomorrow's rumor because it kind of ties in. Fetty, where do you think Amari Rogers falls? I think he's going to be day 2. He might make it down towards the bottom of round 3. I'm just not sure. Teams have to have a role for him in mind. I don't know that he fits the Chiefs that well because, the small, shifty wide receiver, although he is really well built, I don't know that they want that. I think they want more height out of the guy that they run across from Tyreek, to tell you the truth. Aaron, Liz was asking about the question marks. Okay, cool. Good idea, Liz. I like it. Doug, thank you very much. Appreciate it as always. It's kind of a grind, but we love doing it. So this year's coming along. And you're going to see another draft crush from Danilo this week. Dan will do a mock, I'll do a mock. And, we're working on that toy where hopefully all 3 of us can do something together. I don't know if it'll be live just because, it's going to get unruly if we try to do that live, but we'll do something. Let's see. Want to make sure that we wrap up the last of it. Brian, is Ardarius Washington still off your board? At 5'9", 179, Tyrann Mathieu was 5'9", 186. Do you think that I think you would like the tape? I haven't done the tape yet. And I will say 2 people that I respect say that he should still be on my board. So I will say for right now, yes, he's still a viable candidate. Certainly not in the top 50 picks, though. I would take Elijah Molden over him in a heartbeat any day because I know what Molden can do. So, and that is more versatility. So I agree with you, Brian. I probably shouldn't have taken him off before. Teams do have thresholds, though, and that's why I do it. Usually 5'10" is my threshold for any DB, period. I don't want somebody that small. But, like I said, 2 scouts that I know say I should take a look. So, hey, I will do that. Who's your dream defensive free agent? The call not being an issue. Oh, who's on the board? I don't even know. It's a great question, Cole. Dream, huh? I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Des Trufant come to Kansas City. I know he's at the tail end of his career, but I don't know. I think he might work in Spag's system. That's not a dream. That's just, off the top of my head. I don't really have a dream, to tell you the truth. I'll have to check back on that. I've been looking at draft, not free agency. So great question, Cole. I will give you an answer when next that we meet. Let's see. Ryan, with edge kind of being a weak spot, does the scarcity of the position move guys up the draft boards? Yes, it always does. And I think that's why the Chiefs have to consider it with the first pick. Edge is definitely on the board in terms of being an option. It just depends where they grade those guys out. I don't think they'll reach in the first round. I think you've seen them reach in the second round for that very reason, is that they feel they need to get somebody that they absolutely are certain will help them with the round 1 pick. So, RGR football fan, thank you for all you do. I love the name, and I just like having somebody have that. So rock on. Let's see. Danilo's like, we'll do it live. All right, maybe we will. And we'll figure out something for you guys. And, with Dan moving and stuff, maybe Danilo and I'll just do one where we can just argue the whole time. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow, Danilo. Members, live stream tomorrow night, same time. If anybody out there is like a low end, like a draft pick or the rookie level, if you want to bump up for the member live stream, you can jump into that. It's easy to elevate for a month and come on up and whatever you feel like. So yeah, maybe we'll do that. When people say Spags has a type DE, what do they mean? Long arms, taller and big. Those are all aspects of it, but they need to be able to set the edge themselves. They need to be probably 265, 260 plus. So you're not going to see the 3-4 edge guys. I know everybody likes Azeez Ojulari. I support Georgia football too. He's too small for what Spags wants. He does want the length, but he wants a power rush that can then be moved off of it. It's got to be somebody that can deliver power through length and being, one of the bigger defensive ends, like a true defensive end, not an outside linebacker speed rushing. That's what Spags is looking for. I think Michael's going to be the last one, you guys, unless somebody else throws one in there. Oh, Danilo, that's a very good point. I just thought of him yesterday, and I should have said that. But let's answer Michael's question first. How about a live draft with an opposing team analyst reporter? No. On YouTube here, it's really hard to get anybody that actually is what we do here. We are realistic. We are more towards the journalism, farther from the fan. And most people whose channels are on here, not every team has somebody that actually goes about football or their team in a serious way like we do. So, but I think Danilo can handle drafting for most of the other teams in the NFL. We'll find a way to put that up, and me and him and Dan will figure something out. Maybe we'll make Aaron and Jeff come along, and we'll all do some of it. It could be fun. With 5 of us, we all get 6 teams, right? So, hey, that'll work. And Michael Davis is exactly who you were talking about. He stood out against the Chiefs when he was with the Chargers this last season, and I agree with you. I think that is definitely a guy to hang your head on. I think he will be one of the lower end DBs that will be affordable. I like that. He's got the length, the size, the speed. Needs some refinement, needs some more coaching, but I think he could get there. That's a really good point, Danilo. David, did Anthony Sherman retire from the NFL because I saw something? Yes, he did retire. He is done. And and I'm trying not to think about it. How about the 10 out of Ole Miss, Cole? Yep. And Danilo did a breakdown on him 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago. Yaboa, go check him out. And that, I think, we are down. Oh, last one will be Doug. First and foremost, protect the $500 million man. Yes. Not at the sake of reaching for an offensive lineman that doesn't have a first-round grade, though. I will say that. And with that, tonight we will wrap. We're a little bit over. I'm going to go eat with the kids and hang out. Thank you all for spending the time. Thank you for all you super chatters. I was going to throw a screen up tonight of all the super chatters, and I went to make it yesterday, and I couldn't fit you all on the screen in a way that you were still visible. So for everyone who has supported the channel with super chat, super sticker, very much appreciated. I'm glad that you're here, and we appreciate all the support. We will keep churning this out. We'll have more for you this week. We'll do a rumor tomorrow. Dan's mock, my live mock on Thursday, Danilo's crush on Friday. Don't miss any of them. Hope that you guys have a great week. Members tomorrow night, same time in a live stream. It's not the Zoom, it's the live stream. A lot more people in there too. So, Stevie, I'll try to do that. Thank you all very much from all of us at RGR, including Jeff, Aaron, Danilo, Dan, and myself. Have a great night. We'll talk to you next time.